We're going to try to do another piece of this Mishnah. We're still in the same Mishnah because it's a difficult Mishnah. And we're going to discuss, get to the front of this page, Mishnah. Mishnah Ches, Mishnayos Mikvaot Elyon min hatachton arochak min hakorov, Ketzad mevisilon shel cheres shel ever, umeniach yadav tachtav ad sheismal hamayim u'moshchu mashika afilu kisayro v'dayo. Okay, we're doing that piece of Mishnah again, and I'm going to start off with a question of ketafris. The Mishnah says you have an elyon and a tachton, and in truth, I guess I'll have to be honest. The Maram on his Pirush of the Mishnah, he says something which the Mefarshim explain, which I don't really understand. So I'll just share with you what he says. Maybe somebody can help me out on the explanation of it, but I'll just tell you what they all say about this. We're connecting the Tachton to the Elyon. No, I don't have it in this one. I have it in the other Mishnayos. Here's my other Mishnayos. Here's my other Mishnayos.
Who's the Maharam? Please.
The Rebbe of the Rosh.
Maharam Rottenberg?
Maharam Rottenberg, yeah. Okay. So I'm going to read to you the Maharam. No, where'd they put him? Here we go. Meniach yadav tachtav kigon sherosh hasilon shel mata shoichev gavoya yoser mirosh ha'elyon. Now I don't understand how the one could be tachtav could be yoser gavoya. Could somebody explain that to me? It's beyond my technical understanding. But
I think what he means that you're holding it like that.
We're not up to holding yet. We'll get to holding in a minute. Kigon Rosh Hashilan Lamata Sheichev Gavoa Yos Mirosh Ha'elyon V'Lashon Tachtav nearly the Farish K'mod the Zimnin the Rosh Ha'elyon Nomuch Ma'od Shamayim Tzafim L'Mayla Misvas Hasilon V'Rosh HaTachton Gavoya Ma'od She'im Loi Haya Miniach Yadu Al Hasilon B'Rosh Shalamayla Haya Mayim Shaitim V'Yotzim in Hasilon V'Loi Haya Mayim Boim L'Mata Afilu Kechut HaSayra V'Lachi Kama Miniach Yadav Tachtav Pirish B'Tachtisa Shel Silon B'Rosh HaNamuch U'Miniach Yadav Olav Shelo Yishboid Chutz L'Silon V'Yelchot Tachas Yadav Ad L'Mata. Somehow or another, bottom line, he is adjusting the pipe so that the water should flow down. I don't get exactly the technical aspect of what's going on. I don't know if somebody has that Mishnayos that has a Maram. You have that, Peretz?
I don't, but isn't he saying that they overlap? So the top of the bottom one is higher than the bottom of the top one. So you can have a pipe from the bottom one to the top one, but it's still lower.
I don't understand what you said either. The top
of the lower mikveh.
How could that be?
I didn't say anything yet.
No, how could the top of the lower one be higher than the bottom of the higher one?
Because there is overlap between them.
How could doesn't water know that you're supposed to go to the lower place?
If you take a pipe that goes from the higher part of the low mikveh to the lower part of the high mikveh, then one end is still lower than the one in the high mikveh is lower than the end that's in the low mikveh.
Of the pipe.
No.
I think what he's saying is that if let's say you have one mikveh here,
yeah,
on the hill over here, and one over here,
yeah,
but that's the surfaces of them, okay,
right?
But they both have
depth.
They both go into the ground, okay.
Yeah.
So what Peretz is saying is that if the upper pipe is lower down in the mikveh,
you can stick one lower. Yeah, okay. But why would the person be doing that? Why would you have to do that? What's the point? And why does he have to lift up?
If you ever siphoned water, you can do it from a lower thing into a higher thing as long as you're at the top of the lower one to go. You can have the lower pool, which is lower, but it goes into the bottom of the upper one, so the siphon will still work.
Until it's level.
You mean if the cavity of the higher one is half empty and the lower one is full, so then you can have it be higher up. That's true. That's true. I agree with
I
that.
don't even know does it have to be that way. I don't know.
All right. Anyway,
as long as the end of the siphon is lower, it'll go that way. No?
All right. Let's whatever. It doesn't make much of a difference because even if you were right, it's still not going to help out for the problem that I have with the.
I think he's doing this. I think he's doing this because the kosher one is the lower one, and he wants the water flow to go.
That could be. So how do you do that? Somehow or another, you have to have that the lower one is actually higher, right? At least fuller. Maybe it's not higher, but it has to be fuller. So the water level of the lower one is really higher than the higher one. It's just that the pit may be lower down, but the water level is higher. It just has to be because the siphon doesn't get impressed by how big a space is between the two things. It goes by air pressure. Anyways, but I said lo mishaneh. I mean, it is mishaneh, but lo mishaneh, the exact technical part of it. That's not what my issue is. So the regular case, we understand we have a tachton and an elyon, and we have a pipe that's doing this. So this is called a katafris. So the Mefarshim asks a question, how could it work if we say katafris is not a chibur? Now, why is a katafris not a chibur? Anybody want to give us a suggestion on that?
Because it goes one way.
And therefore,
one way.
if you'd have the kosher one on the top, would it bother you if it was going one way? You're not on, Peretz, you're off.
That's what we had before. If you overflow the top one, so it goes into the bottom one.
But that wasn't the katafris. That was just halacha of zriya. That's all.
Well, why is that not a katafris?
No, because you're only using that water after it rests in the lower pit.
Right.
And the water became kosher when it was inside the higher pit. So you're never discussing the stream is irrelevant. The flow is not important to us. It's only right that we're right now talking about that you have a katafris that's making a chibur. There, the chibur is done in the top mikvah, and then it's spilled over.
So from the high one to the low one, if it is totally disconnected from the upper one before it gets to the lower one, is that still a kosher lower mikvah?
No. In which case? In the case of what we're talking about right now?
No. The one we talked about.
100%. 100% kosher.
Someone's got to mute their phone.
Yeah, well, how do I turn off the ringer of this?
Oh.
Okay, well, somebody answered it. Anyways, I apologize.
Oh, okay.
I need this back. Let's do it. It was here working. Yeah. Anyways, that's the question that the Mefarshim asked. Even the Rosh asked this question, and he gives an answer. When I say I don't like the answer, I don't mean that I don't like the answer, but he says near lefarish that the lo ari hachi b'chaser ela b'shalem ela shu shov umashika lahachsher sagi chadasayra v'kilu b'shiva derabanon etc. V'shema mitam zeh. This is the part which is negeh for us. V'shema mitam zeh lo chayishinon b'silon afilu yeh ketafris. So he just said that since she was the Rabbanon, we don't care that it's a ketafris. Which this to me is very troubling because I don't know, just because it's a Rabbanon, so what? In other words, if you say you're not going to be so machmer, why because it's a Rabbanon should we not care if it's a ketafris? No, it's
Is ketafris not a chibur b'daraisa?
I don't know. Could be yes, could be no. But what's the difference?
So the point is that the whole idea of the psul of shuvin is a derabanan, and the whole idea of doing this report to be machshir is, I guess,
There's
also
also-
derabanan.
Yeah.
So normally they would say ketafris is not something you could use if you need a real hechsher. But for something like this, which is only possible with the Rabbanan, the Chachamim are overlooking it.
No, I understand. I understand. You just said the outline of how it would work. You didn't say the svara. In other words, there are certain things that we're not going to be makel just because it's the Rabbanon. Why ketafris? Yes. No, what you said is true. I agree with that, but I knew that beforehand. You didn't answer my question. Why should I say that kind of a idea?
What's the difference if the mikvah was full or not? Why does that make a difference for this ketafris?
Because one is that you need to create a reality of our boim so, which that's ki'ilu deraisa, and one is that you just have to be machshir she'uvim, which is only a derabanan, at least according to the Rosh. So I'm right now. I'm representing the Rosh. I'm not asking that. I'm just saying.
But if it's a problem with ketafris, then it's the same thing. You're filling it up with shuvim or whatever. It's a drabanan. So I don't understand what the difference is whether you fill it up or was full before. You're still making shuvim kosher.
Well, no. One case is that neither mikveh is shul. Both of them are rainwater, straight rainwater. But the one is chaser and the other is shalem. So you have to be mashlim the shear of the chaser by making hashaka, not filling it up. You are creating a virtual arboim so.
So it's remaining connected?
It's remaining connected, and that's what the Mishnah says. And there has to be that then that's it. And that has to be that and then there have to be remain connected.
How does a ketafris remain connected?
1 second. If it keeps on flowing.
How does that happen?
Speak to Niagara Falls.
It's an unlimited supply of water in one of them?
Speak to Niagara Falls. I don't know.
Oh, we're not talking about Niagara Falls. We're talking
what?
about two mikvahs. We're not talking about Niagara Falls.
Why does it have to be? Why are you such a doomsday predictor? Why do you have to worry about what's going to happen in 6 months when it empties out? Why are you such a nosy body? Right now it's attached.
So you're saying it's good while it's going, it's good, and then afterwards it's not going to.
When it'll empty, I will tell you that there are some achronim who say exactly what you're saying. That I'm not belittling what you're saying, but as far as I'm concerned, at this point, I have no rhyme or reason to say such a thing. As long as it's attached, it's attached. What do I care what's going to happen later on? Why should I care?
It's a different halacha. It's saying it's only good while it's attached, rather than saying afterwards both mikvahs are kosher independently. It's two different halachas than we're talking about. Is that what
that's parrots. Let's speak about we have two mikvahos on equal footing. And one has 20 and the other has 20. Right. You have a shveres hanod.
We're losing the connection here.
That's right. We plugged the Shafaris Hanod. We exactly lost the connection. But you had two Shafaris, you had two 20s with a connection of Shafaris Hanod. Now somebody put the plug in and they became disconnected. Are either of the Mikvaot kosher?
No,
Why?
there's no 40 sa.
That's right. Now, let's say you had one that had 40 sa, one had 20, and you put in the plug.
Right.
Same
So the one with 20 is no good. Okay.
Yeah. So always, in many cases, once you, even though it was connected, if you plug it up, it's not connected anymore, so you lose the shear. Whereas in She'uvim, and this is an akuda which we touched on last week, when in She'uvim, there's a machlokes haposkim. The simple havana is that once it became through Shafaris Hanod attached, so the waters became non-shuvim. They became kosherized waters. Not that we were connected them and therefore they're kosher. They became kosher water. And it doesn't matter if you plug up the hole.
Right. And that was my question now. You're saying now that it's only good when they're connected. And we're talking about that should be connected good after they're disconnected here.
I never spoke about after it's connected. I never spoke about that. I said the principle of ketafris is even while it's connected, it's not connected. Ketafris means that it is a it doesn't have eno abba, as I say in Ivrit. It doesn't have a source. It's just like a thing standing in midair, so it can't connect to anything. It's individual particles not connected to anything. That's what ketafris eino chibur means. Ketafris eino chibur means that it is not. We do not look at it as part of its place where it went, part of the place where it came from. And not only that, it's not even related to the drop on top of it or the bottom of it. It's individual drops by themselves. That's what ketafris chibur means. So the question was, how could you create a connection through a ketafris, which is by definition, a non-connectable? That was the question that the Rosh asked. And the Rosh answered, since it's shuvim, we don't care. So Yechiel said, well, maybe shuvim is a drabanon and ketafris is a drabanon, and we're not so particular. Why should we say that? Because that's what the dice turned out today. I don't know, because we didn't answer that question. I'm just recapping what we said. That's what we said. So, but that's the subject. That's the subject of the Mishnah. And I saw somebody who says a fascinating answer that this is shava b'shava, and this is kosher. What about this? What about this? When does it become a ketafris? I will just share with you from the chumras in Eruvin that are prevalent today. It's a fascinating thing. The Mahadran Eruvin that they have nowadays, they have on one side of the pole, on the top, they tie the string. On the others, not the other side of the pole, the other pole on the other side, the next pole, on the top of it is a wheel, and there's a string which goes into the hole and goes into the pole, and that string, which is the one that went across, has a weight on it. And the purpose of that is that being that the rope or string, wire, cord, whatever word you're going to use, that's used for the Erev expands and contracts in the winter and the summer. So it gets slack on it. So by the fact that you use a weight, it's self-adjusting. It always will stay taut because it's taut because of the weight, not because it's not tied down to anything. No pun intended. So that's how they do that. Now, this question has to do with two things. One is the swaying in and out, and the other one is the sagging. And there's a question in the poskim, how much could it sag? Not only is such a question in the poskim, how could it sag, there's a question in the poskim about if it goes on an angle. If you look at all of the machmir eruvin, they're always like this, and then they go up the pole to the next level, and then they go across. They're always horizontal across. They're never no angles going up. I didn't say that you have to do it. I'm just telling you that's what's done. I'm not getting involved. We're not learning the eruvin right now. That's what's done. Somebody told me that they were asked once of Aaron, what's the halacha if it goes down on a slant? So he said it's puzzle. So they asked him, what's the slant that we're talking about? Just 1 second. Hello? לא שומע, מה? לא, היא לא נמצאת. תתקשרי עוד חצי שעה. בסדר? כן. לא, בסדר. שלום. Okay. Okay, now we're off. Now we just hung it up. Whatever. Okay, so Rav Aaron said 45 degrees. So he said, why? So he said, because if it's going more than 45 degrees, then it's going more down than it's going across. And since the mashka has to be going across, if it's more than 45 degrees, it's not going across. So, but Echshahu, this same principle.
That's a lot of leeway. 45 degrees is a lot.
Who said he was a machmer?
Okay.
Anyways, but that's what I heard from B'Shem Rabban. I obviously didn't hear it from Rabban, but that's what I heard B'Shem Rabban. So I'm asking you, this is a ketafris. When does it become a ketafris? I don't know. But there are those that answered this question, and I believe that it's a very good answer, that ketafris, the reason why it's a problem, is it because the water is zeichelin, or because of it's a tzura of a ketafris? It sounds like the tzura of a ketafris. Why? Because the halacha of ketafris chibur eino chibur exists also in other halachas besides mikvos. So there are those who say that if it's not a very steep incline, there's no problem with ketafris altogether. And most of the times on your hill, unless it's a mountain, you're not going to have super steep guys. It's usually less than a 45 degree. So they say that that's not called the ketafris. No, they reject the question of the Rash. Okay, which is you like that, Ari? No, I don't know. Obviously the Rash didn't like that answer. But there's another question which I just alluded to, which is also a fascinating question. A ketafris is zeichelin. By definition, right? It's zeichelin. So there's a question, could you make hashak of a zeichelin or not? Or it has to be ashbar for it to be a ketaf, for it to be a chibur. Now, I would just like to tell you a case which this is very negea too. Okay, do you see here? I have this is my oitzer. Let me just, here's the city water going in. This is the city water going into the oitzer, and there's a plug over here. Here's a hole between, this is the mikveh that you dunk in, and this is the mikveh, behind the wall. And a person pulls the plug. So this is what we spoke about. This is Zeichelim, the top part. And we discussed if there's a problem of this you can't make zriya unless it's mashbarin or not, right? We call this subject. Just saying, what would happen if when this is coming into here, could this make hashaka to this mikvah? If this mikvah was also, I turned off the water, okay, no more water, and I filled up the mikvah over here, this mikvah, because I didn't want to have that problem of zeichlim. And now I'm pulling out the plug, and this mikvah over here also has water in it already. Okay, you got the case? So now when I pull out the plug, before it finds common sea level, before it, if I just attach it for a second, and then I put in the, what? Before the balance. Before they balance, and then I replug it, that I machshir a mikvah. So it's not a katafris because the water is connecting 100% horizontal, but the water is zeichel.
Wait, you connected it before it balanced? I mean, you disconnected it before it reached balance?
Yes.
So never reached balance, you're saying?
Never reached balance, correct. Okay. So I want to know, can I toivel in that mikvah? Was that a kosher hashaka?
Is not every hashaka zochel then?
No, it finds its level.
While it's finding it, it's zochel.
So I'm not toiveling while it's finding.
Oh, okay. But if you would, then it would be zochel.
Maybe. But this is what I'm suggesting. I'm just pointing out that there's a question on this aspect of the zechila. How does it work out? Okay, I guess we ran over time. I apologize. I will have to continue next time.